Let's make sure the water is on. Sorry about that. Sounds like the sound's working just fine. So, good morning, friends. Thanks for dropping by. Let's see. If we fail to learn the lessons life has in store for us, we're doomed to repeat the same mistakes over and over again. I think that's what we're going to talk about today. My name is Toby. I'm 41 years old and I train to live an active, self-sufficient and adventurous life. I do that by minding my sleep. I try to get between 7 and 9 hours of sleep in a night. Last night was 6 hours and 40 minutes. So I need to go to bed on time tonight, but we'll get there eventually. I do that by minding my food. I try to eat within my energy balance, which is around 2200 calories, with the goal of maintaining my current weight. My body composition might change a little bit over time because of how I eat and how I train, but the general goal is to simply stay the way I am and build some muscle and strength over time. I eat a lot of greens, a lot of vegetables, a lot of healthy foods, which is where my focus goes. And I try to eat sufficient protein to hit my muscle and strength building goals. So I try to hit between 60 and 80 grams on a normal day and between 80 and 100 grams on the 3 days that I work out with weights. And that's what I try to do and to get done throughout the week. Beyond that, for my health and fitness. Beyond that, for longevity, I'm invested in my relationships, in my communities, my contributions to my communities. And I'm focused on having things that I can master and learn from, which in my case are the art and craft of creative writing and the art and science of judo, which I've recently picked up again after not having practiced for 20 years. But that is an aside. And in this podcast we talk about health and fitness and longevity in general. So if that's a topic that you're interested in, then be welcome and thanks for dropping by. I record on Saturday and Sunday mornings. I might occasionally record on a weekday, but I found that the pace of doing this every day during the week is just a little bit too grueling and a little bit too hardcore for me to actually be able to keep up with, because there are other things that I want to do in life as well. However, I do find this an important enough conversation with myself and also with you. We're here to want to show up regularly. So Saturday and Sunday with a bit more time in the mornings. So let's use that time wisely and let's make sure that we have a conversation about health, fitness, and longevity that is going to help us move forward and make different choices for a long, healthy, active, and self-sufficient life. All right? Hit like, subscribe, by way of an intro, if that's what you're interested in and you're interested in me and what I talk about in my journey. Mind you, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical professional, I'm not a nutritionist, I'm not a sleep doctor. I don't give medical advice or nutritional advice. The only thing that I do is I talk about my experience and my worldview and how that then comes back to the choices that I make to live a certain way or to try to incorporate certain things into my life in order to stay fit and stay healthy for living. So I hope that makes sense. And again, go ahead, hit like and subscribe. Would be great to get 10 likes on the stream, and to get, you know, to, I should have put that, to get some engagement and interaction on the chat if you're so inclined. But I understand it's Sunday morning or Saturday night where you're at. So probably you have better things to do than listen to me talk about health, fitness, and longevity. Today's training, I am going to go out for sprints this morning. Let's see how my foot responds to that. I think the foot should be fine. At least that's what I'm hoping. But we'll see, because for those of you who don't know, I had some issues with my foot. I don't know exactly what happened, but apparently a nerve got irritated in the foot. Maybe from overuse, maybe from wrong shoes, maybe a combination. It's a very irritating and interesting spot to be injured. It swelled up, even had to have a picture taken to make sure it wasn't broken, or an x-ray, because it impedes everything that we do. So I have been taking it easy, but I also had the clearance to do the things that I would normally do with the foot, as long as it has recovered 24 hours later, which it seems to be doing just fine. So I'm going to put it to the test with a bit more of an intense challenge today, and let's see what happens. So it's going to be sprints. Sprints are, in essence, a strength kind of training, right? But it is really seeking that. Peak heart rate, bringing it up into that red zone as high as I can, and just making sure that I hit that once a week, because we build the base of the pyramid with conditioning. I'm actually flipping some things around in my schedule, but we're building the base of the pyramid with conditioning throughout the week, with kettlebells, but also with walks and with a slower, steadier run pace, and then add this to the mix to also work on that fast twitch. And I think after the run, I'm also going to do some jumping work and some speed work, just to get that kind of training in, so to speak. I'm actually looking forward to that. Ulysses M. Talbot, the person with the wonderful name, thanks for saying hi, for dropping by. I hope you're doing well, and I appreciate you dropping by and saying hello. And I hope you're having a good Saturday night or Sunday morning. For me, it's 6:11 Sunday morning. And we're just having a Sunday morning chat over coffee before I go out and do my run and my training for the day. So, let's talk about life being a tough teacher, all right? Story time, maybe. When I was a teenager, I one time wanted to look like the guy on the cover of a health magazine for men. And the magazine had a workout in it, which was like a full body workout at home: squats, push-ups, sit-ups. And I started obsessively doing that workout, but nothing changed. Then, a bit later, I saw a TV commercial for a thing called an Afflex. You can look it up on YouTube. Remember, this was the late 80s, early 90s. Okay. And I convinced my mother that that is what I needed to, not be fat. This was a big thing for me. As a kid, I was about 10, 15 kilos heavier than a lot of my classmates, I think, already in primary school. So we got this contraption with these rubber resistance bands, which, in a way, working against resistance, there's something to be said for it. And I started doing the sit-ups with that with that machine or contraption. I wouldn't even call it a machine, and nothing happened. Then I started going to the gym as a teenager. And as a teenager, I started going to the gym, 15, 16, and suddenly my muscles exploded. I became very big, broad-shouldered, strong, just powerfully built. We were doing a lot of judo at the time as well, so I thought it was a good combination. And despite giving up alcohol for a while, even in training towards my black belt, I did not change the way I ate, and I still stayed soft in the middle, so to speak. I have never in my life gotten lean enough to see my abs. Throughout my student life, the same thing happened, right? I put on a lot of weight and I tried to get it off, or tried to get back to normal. I lost quite a bit of weight. But I was always focused on the activity, the exercising. And it is a shame that I only realized how important food and sleep are in that equation after I turned 32. So imagine 17, 18 years of frustration, maybe even 20, from age 12 up to age 32, because I didn't actually want to learn what life was offering me. Sure, there were diets, right? Like if you remember the 90s, there were a whole bunch of diets that were being promoted. My mom used to watch this American TV show, Oprah, and boy, there was a different diet every 6 months. There were fad diets all around, but it never quite stuck. Like food never really became a focus of mine until I was 32. I was financially in a secure place. I really wanted to get back to my best self, which I remember being 17, 18, 19, in terms of physical capability and activity as a judoka. And I started to understand how all of this works together. But now looking back all through life, I can see that there were hints and that there were lessons offered that I was refusing to learn. I'm in that place right now. Which place? In the place where you're realizing that food is very important for long-term health and fitness. Is that the place you're referring to? Help me out in chat. We can talk about it, or if you have any questions, you feel free to ask me. All right, I'm happy to chat about my experience with that topic. So, for example, there were also diet programs offered alongside the training programs that were offered in those kinds of magazines. I met people throughout my life who tried to explain to me what food meant in terms of training. I remember being a student, and actually I was a assistant student teacher, and some of my younger students, the ones that just started university, came in, they were having protein shakes and they were fit and they were at the gym, and they had already discovered something around eating sufficient protein, minding their calories in terms of building muscles, and staying fit and healthy. Really the early kind of fitness knowledge that was spreading through message boards and some other online forums, right? In the place where you were trying to get back to where you were. I understand. Yeah, we get there sometimes, right? What is that place exactly for you? If you don't mind, telling me. Because one of the things that I realized in trying to get back to that place is that it was never going to happen. The level of fitness and physical ability I had at 18, at 20, at 22, at 24, at 26, or the potential, that kind of starts to disappear after 30. The only thing I've realized that I can try to do is to make the most use of the potential I have today, which is still relatively good. But peak was, 22 to 32, right? Now it's maintenance for me and being as fit as I possibly can at 41 and hopefully at 51 and hopefully at 61. So I hope that insight, from my experience, helps you in some way in redefining that. But having that goal to get back to a good level of fitness that you know for yourself, I think is very important, and a good driver to get going and to keep yourself going. So there were people in my life who were offering me this lesson, but I was blind to it. Hence, I kept making the same mistake over and over again. It was all about the exercise, never about the drinking, never about the food, never about the sleeping. And I always kept getting the same results, right? I would never get as fit as the guys on the magazine. When you go through life and you want to reflect on things that are happening to you, it's important to really lean in and listen and understand. Not know, but understand what's going on in life. Bro, doom extension. I very much appreciate that. I probably have a six-pack just like everyone else underneath a nice layer of about 19 or 18% body fat at the moment, probably, well hidden away. But I appreciate the comment and the support. Thanks for that, and thanks for dropping by and saying hi. There are lessons that are going to be offered to us if we are willing to lean in to life and understand what's being offered. If we're really willing to hear not only what we want to hear, because if we think that training is the way forward, and I understand why I thought that, because as a kid that was all of the information that was there. Go train, go do more, go run, go for a jog, go lift some weights, right? That was the advice you'd get to lose weight. Don't eat crisps. That was about the best nutritional advice. And at a later stage became don't drink fizzy drinks or sugary drinks, right? But if those are the goalposts that you're given, it's not strange that that's what we focus on, and we kind of start to fall into a confirmation bias where the only information that we lean into is the information that fits that kind of promise or worldview, that the only information we assimilate or want to hear, even though other things are being offered, we just filter it out because we're not open and receptive to different messages at that time. And then when we fail to learn the lessons life wants to teach us, we don't get the results we want. We keep getting the same results over and over again. And having this mental flexibility is hard, right? Having this ability to look at what we're doing and at the same time doing something very conflicting at the same time, encouraging and supporting ourselves, believing we're doing the right thing, and being critical of ourselves, trying to figure out how to do it smarter, better, and improve, has to coexist. And it has to coexist because otherwise we stop growing and learning and we just keep doing. And the whole point, I think, of the exercise is for us to grow and learn and get better at what we want to accomplish and learn the intricacies of that. So I'll give you an example, right? 8 years ago, I started this journey trying to get fit and healthy, dropped down from 101 kilos to 78, put back on weight over time throughout COVID. I think I peaked again at 91, brought that down steadily to around 86 kilos over time through a very consistent training, sleep, and nutrition regime. But I've had to learn along the way. It all started again with a 7-minute workout. Then I started to do more minutes of working out, and I started to be somewhat more mindful of what I eat. And I started to be more mindful of my sleep, and it's been a continuous process over time to develop this routine that has brought me to the level of health and fitness that I enjoy today. But I've kept learning throughout those 10 years, and I've had to relearn a lot of things. And if you saw my post in the community, if you haven't seen my post in the community, go to my channel and check it out later, where I posted a picture of a bottle of soft drink and a bag of crisps, or some crisps on a plate. And that used to be a staple. Like when I went from 83 kilos back up to 91 kilos, the Friday nights was a whole bag of crisps before dinner, either beer, wine, or a whole bottle of soft drink, and then order in spare ribs, extra large portion with fries to boot Friday night. That's like enough calories to offset anything that I'd done throughout the week to try and maintain my weight, right? Weight was just going to come on, and it wasn't just Friday night at that point. But life was teaching me that lesson at the time, that certain types of foods, for example, are not compatible with a focus on long-term health and fitness. We're just going to have to accept that there is food on offer that maybe we get to consume once every 2 weeks, maybe once a month, right? And that caloric spike in that time frame is going to even out with all of the other things that we do. So on top of a healthy rhythm of sleep, exercise, and nutrition, one of those spikes is not going to change that much. But if we introduce that 2, 3, 4 times a week, we're not setting ourselves up for success, because then it's not a spike, then it's a consistent part of our flow throughout the week, right? But I learned all of those things by going to a private gym. Then last year, what did I do? I took a course in health, fitness, functional coaching of functional movements. I'm a personal trainer, right? Which is nice for myself. I can periodize, create training programs for myself. I have a good idea of what I want to do and get out of it. And lifestyle and health coaching. And that has taught me that there is a lot more to learn about all these different areas of health, fitness, to work on. And despite watching a lot of YouTube videos, despite being interested in maybe taking a course in nutrition now, despite having a broad interest in knowing probably more than a person who's just going through the motions based on what they hear their one favorite influencer tell them, or what the local magazine or newspaper tells them, or what television tells them, I am by no means an expert, right? I am by no means incredibly capable of looking at the problem and breaking it down and saying, okay, this is definitely the optimal way. I have to keep learning and investing in all 3, maybe even 4 areas of understanding health, fitness, and longevity. I have enough of an understanding to know that there's always more to learn, and that true expertise and the nuance of all of the problems comes from the real experts, people that spend 10, 20, 30 years of their lives dedicated to researching movement physiology, exercise physiology, biology and biochemistry of exercise and movements, or food and nutrition, nutritional chemistry, the biochemistry of weight loss and weight gain. There's so many interesting conversations to have that I can listen to them and I can frame them somewhat, and I can kind of have an opinion with my layman understanding of, well, that runs somewhat counter to other information that I've had, versus, oh, that's actually very new and a good addition to what I know and have understood. So, for example, people say, saturated fat is not bad for your health. Well, everything that I've read and understood actually tells me that limiting trans fat and saturated fat is going to help me achieve better health outcomes in the long run. The short run, maybe I won't notice a lot of it, but in the long run, it's going to make a big difference, especially for my cardiovascular system. So whenever someone starts talking about fats, and I've had to understand what a trans fat is, what a saturated fat, what a monounsaturated fat, polyunsaturated fat is, the types of food that they're in, that helps me frame those conversations. But when people start talking about, the amount of protein that is required for muscle protein synthesis, but that there are different kinds of amino acids and that proteins are, is a word that might not be used in 10 years anymore because it's about the amino acid profile, etc., etc. Okay. That goes a bit beyond my understanding of how all of this works. Sure, I get the big picture. I'm educated enough to understand what they're talking about. But for me to then turn around and say, well, by the way, protein, amino acids, essential amino acids, blah, 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 and pretend that I know what I'm talking about would be unfair and dishonest to myself, but also to you. But life in general is offering us all of these lessons and insights. And if we're very honest about where we are, what we know, what we need to learn, not what we don't know, what we need to learn, we're probably setting ourselves up for more success in terms of our journey to long-term health, fitness, and longevity. Because if we don't, we're doomed to make the same mistakes over and over again, or fall for the same fads or the same lies, because we stop thinking and we substitute thinking for following. Okay? We let someone else do the thinking for us, which we don't question critically. And I also hope that people question very critically all of the things that I talk about, to find their own way, because I talk about the things that have worked for me from my limited understanding, and then hopefully that spurs you on to actually discover new things about your health and fitness on your own, especially after 40 and 50. So all of the lessons that we need to learn about sleep, about food, about training, about friendship, about pursuits, they're all there for us, because we know certain things make us feel good, but we put them aside because we maybe think other people have an opinion about our hobbies, or we're embarrassed that we enjoy doing something. Let's say, as a man, you enjoy knitting. It gives you peace of mind, right? Who knows? But men don't knit, right? Excuse me? If you enjoy that and it gives you peace of mind and it's a skill and a hobby that you enjoy and you get a nice warm sweater out of it by the end of summer for winter, by all means, enjoy it. Lean into it, all right? It's not for me. I don't enjoy it. I enjoy other things. But if you enjoy it, you need to stop listening to that voice of doubt and just lean into self-actualizing yourself around the things that empower you and give you joy in life, all right? Someone tells you you need to eat broccoli 3 times a week in order to stay healthy, but you don't like the taste of broccoli. Okay, try making broccoli soup so it masks the flavor, or try mixing it into a wok. But if it's not your kind of vegetable, pick one of the other 700 types of vegetables that have a similar nutrient and health profile, because there are different vegetables, right, from the same vegetable group or family that you could eat. But you need to be interested in learning about exactly what type of vegetable broccoli is, what type of vegetables are related to broccoli, and then actually incorporating that into your diet and your routine. You can learn all of these things if you're willing to understand and learn and lean in to the lessons that life is offering you, okay? And not the lessons that you think you should focus on, because there's a lot more out there on offer. In any case, that's all I have for you today by way of reflection on the week and on the month. I hope you're doing well where you're at. I want to thank you for watching Ulysses, Doom times Kenshin, Doom X Kenshin. Thanks for dropping by, for saying hi in chat, for voting in the poll. If you're watching right now, go ahead, hit like, maybe subscribe to my channel. We can continue the conversation about health and fitness. I'm going to go out for my training this morning. I'm very much looking forward to that. Remember, friends, we're good just the way we are. We've got to love ourselves before we can move on. This person we are today is going to get us to where we want to be tomorrow. So a bit of kindness is going to go a long way, all right? The only way to get anything done is by showing up and doing the work. So I will see you tomorrow morning for another session of kettlebell conditioning and another chat about health and fitness. Take care, be well, and thanks for dropping by. And don't forget, and remember to subscribe.